Well, it'll be an interesting start as Carey Fraser will drop it. The Devils will use White and Malakoff to start on defense, with Elias, Arnott, and Sikora up front. Pitlick and Spacek on defense for Florida. Hicks, Niedermayer, and Mellanby up front. Game 1, best of 7, and it's underway. Mike Vernon at one end, Martin Brodeur at the other. They've not faced each other in the playoffs since the end of June of 1995, the night the Devils had their last big celebration. White, Arnott, and lobbed ahead. Spacek blocked and flipped into traffic. The captain, Scott Mellanby, looks for room and fires one that's deflected by White. Picked up, though, and Niedermayer with a shot that's juggled and then grabbed by Martin Brodeur. And a little extra, White and Mellanby. Well, what about the players scratched tonight? Ray Shepherd, surprising, as well as Stewart and the third goaltender, Stalenkov. For the Devils, Christophe Oliva is getting healthier, not ready yet. Sutton and Niedermayer are both healthy. Niedermayer, game 10 of a 10-game suspension tonight.
Well, the opening lineup, a bit of a surprise. Jason Arnott's line was scheduled, or everyone has suspected they would play against Bure. Of course, Larry Robinson has the last change. He elected to go, though, with Arnott line against the Niedermayer line. It looks like it's going to be Gomez, McGillney, and Lemieux facing, well, actually, you know what? I see now, Mike, where Terry Murray has switched up his lines early in this game. Bure is not out with Whitney as we expected.
It is Hedican dropping it back on to Ray Whitney. Whitney taps it on and gets it back again. Whitney moving on, firing one that went wide of Brodeur in the cage. The bouncer out in front, grabbed off by Scott Gomez. Moves ahead with Alexander Mogilny and Lemieux. Gomez trying to work his way through, but it's cut off now. Robert Spela, who normally plays on defense with Spacek, tonight is matched up with Brett Hedican. So it's Malakoff whipping it on to Alexander Mogilny. Philadelphia has struck first on Dominik Hasek and the Sabres. 1-0 first period there. Damon Langkow came up with a goal, and that will have to lift a tremendous weight from the shoulders of the Flyers, as well as Brian Boucher, their rookie goalkeeper, against one of the legends. Dump back down the ice, and Rafalski will go back for the icing touch-up. 1:35 into the first. It'll come back near Mike Vernon.
And it's the third shift for the Panthers, and finally Pavel Bure comes on the ice now. There you see, scored 45 even-strength goals this season, the most since 92-93. That tells you that he's pretty unpredictable. He could do it on the power play, but 5-on-5, he has the knack of getting open and loose. And as I mentioned, the lines have really been switched by Terry Murray, so we'll have to wait probably till about the 15-minute mark to see how they're going to shake down. But Bure now is out there with Kozlov and Worrell. That is something we haven't seen all season.
Worrell in the role of Dave Semenko.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. Stevens, of course, is out there, as often is the case when Bure's there, and he fires. Score!
Bobby Holik, who leads the Devils in faceoffs this season, gets it back to the captain, Scott Stevens. I was talking to Scott this morning about his sticks. Now, this is Stevens over here. He said he only has a few of them left. It's a stick that isn't made a lot. Oh, this is a bank off the boards, and you can see why Scott Stevens is in love with those sticks. He says, I got to be real careful not to break them. I only have a few left. Oh, and Mike Vernon was screened. A defenseman passed in front of him just at the worst time possible. That was a mental mistake by the defenseman there, as he shut out Stevens, or excuse me, Vernon, who was beaten by Stevens.
Bobby Holik gets the only assist. Rafalski bumps with Worrell. Meanwhile, Stevens nudged it on, and Pitlick a drive, and that went wide of Brodeur in the cage. Worrell with a pretty good thump on Randy McKay. Spacek goes down in a collision with Breland. Lance Pitlick takes over. One-time Ottawa Senator got it on to Worrell. Flopped it further, and Paul Laws comes up the wing with Kozlov. Victor Kozlov twirling with a couple of very tough wingers out there. It is Bombardier sending it on to Pandolfo. Moves ahead and gives on to Nemchinov. Trying to work by Spacek. Able to pivot, but couldn't get control. Pandolfo steps in to take it. Jake Pandolfo to the slot, and a shot is knocked down. Another try, and that one grabbed off and fed on to Len Barry. Barry for the Panthers dropped it in. Paul Laws, the fistic winger, back to get it. Bumped by Danico. Now it's Barry. Crossed off, though, by Madden. Puck skipped along and is still up for grabs. Madden went down, fighting free, though, and trying to nudge it to the front was Kavasha. Instead, it's pitched on by Laws. Around for Barry, but spiked loose by the defensive Bombardier and skipped back to center zone. LA and Detroit underway and scoreless. The same for Pittsburgh and Washington. Jammed back to the wall and moving back in and taking a pretty good hit for his trouble was Alex Hicks. Around behind, Mellenby trying to get a pass away, but right on him was Arnott. Now Mellenby fed. Niedermeyer a shot snuffed out by White. Finessed ahead by Sikora, but the bouncer is grabbed off and spun back on by Svela. It is Hicks dropping it back in. Coming out of his goal is Brodeur. Played it up the wing for Peter Sikora, and he starts it ahead. Tucks one past Elias back down. Elias racing back. Got there to cancel the icing. Threw it in front, and it came on back to Malakoff, and his shot was sent aside by goalkeeper Mike Vernon. Now up with it is Sikora. At the front of backhander, score!
Devils winning this hockey game by 2 goals, and they've been winning the one-on-one battles. They won the face-offs, and looking in front, Jason Arnott to your right, all over Vernon. He steps out just in time, and so does Sikora as he steps out from behind the net. But Sikora, great concentration. He was really being worked over by Brett Hedigan, but he was able to lose his check. Look at the battle here. This is what I'm talking about. The Devils worked on this for 2 days, just this kind of cycling. And then the backhand, I think it hits the stick of Vernon and goes upstairs. But that's exactly the types of plays the Devils worked on for well over 40 minutes each day of getting the puck behind the net, winning the battle, getting it out front with traffic in front. And Peter Sikora gives the Devils the 2nd goal of this hockey game. That's his 4th. And so with not 5 minutes gone, the Devils have accomplished exactly what they wanted to do, and that was to get some scores on the board.
Lemieux a drive, and that one snuffed out by the defense of Mike Wilson. Lemieux tried to center. Wilson jammed it back off. Advanced out again by Parrish. Parrish couldn't come up with it. Gomez could. Gomez crosses. Lemieux up with it to the slot. Fed to the back. Malakoff a shot, and it's turned to the high glass by Vernon. Now then Parrish lays it on a cross, and Whitney couldn't control. Spirited back to Lemieux, who walks it ahead. It pinballed off, but he recovered. McGillney a shot, and it went up over the top of the net against the glass. Gomez along for McGillney. Lemieux couldn't tee it up and then was well watched. Gomez trying to finesse the boards. Bodied there and worked over by Spacek. Puck taken by Claude Lemieux. Lemieux trickled one that Vernon grabbed, threw back to the glass. This is all New Jersey right now. Brought ahead by Ray Whitney and dropped ahead. Too far for Rafalski, but grabbed off by Scott Stevens. Stevens walled by Parrish, and Rafalski takes it and just flies it on back. Robert Svela collars this one for Florida. Nearly 5.5 played in the first period. Rushing ahead is Hedican. Drops it to Len Barry. Barry stashed one to Hedican. Hopes for a centering pass back to him. It's thrown off Brodeur's stick and grabbed by Bombardier. Bombardier's pass was bunted to center ice by Bobby Holik. Laid on back once more for Kozlov. Kozlov a shot. Fought off by Brodeur. Bombardier to the corner. Checked off by Kozlov. The battle continues, and Len Barry gets it. Onto the point now for Wilson. Shot deflected down, and a sprawling slide by Brodeur. Breland drops it on back, and the first concerted pressure by Florida in the game. Wilson glassed it on back, and Scott Stevens takes it short of icing. Pretty interesting. Stevens and Sikora scoring in the first 4:02. It's on now for Nemchinov. Wanting to get by, hit high and hard by Simpson, tried to center, got it to Stevens for a shot, save made by Vernon. The shots are now 5-2. Stevens again threw one in front that glanced off Wilson, forced back out again by Worrell. So Stevens on through to John Madden. Hooked at, but he dropped it to the corner. Spot check to take it there for Florida. Closed off by Pandolfo. Got it along to Lance Pitlick, but it was into the referee's skates. Spot check again. Dropped it on back. And it's laid back ahead by Laws. Worrell had to slow down to get it. Worrell being booed. And then he's sent flying by Elias as Arnott moves in. Arnott curls around behind. Threw one in front. As breaking in was Nemchinov, and the puck careens all the way back to Danico. Ahead now to Elias. He's got Arnott breaking. Slams one that went just wide. Around it came for Ken Danico. Devils recoil and try another strike, but this time it's Scott Mellanby. A misfired pass. Elias for Sikora. Wants to go by. Fires one that was slowed down. And so it's collared now by Spela. Given back over for a dump back ahead by Hedican. Hicks has trouble. The Devils pour in again, but an offside call. 12:32 to go in the first. 2-0, the home team.
Sure, but he is a moving target. He never stands stationary, and that's why Scott Stevens was saying, everybody wonders why we just don't step up and drill him time after time. But he's too smart for that.
It is Malakoff. But then Spela connects back with Alex Hooks. He put it back in and took the hit. White around behind escapes Mellanby. In the legs of Elias, but then on his stick and turned out to Arnott. Jammed just away from Peter Sikora. Flung on back, and Malakoff has it again. Toss ahead, but it went off Gomez. Followed up, though, and brought back in by Mogilny. Mogilny a shot, swatted into the glove. And a sweeping motion, it's held by Mike Vernon.
Well, reading between the lines, I think the Devils have established in the minds of the Panthers that they are a big, hard-driving team that doesn't give up very many scoring chances. And they re-emphasized that with 2 goals. And Mike Vernon has been under siege. You know, Mike, what the Devils needed most of all was, you know, you could say they play well in the first period, yeah, work hard, create some chances. But mostly what they needed is some goal-scoring confidence. And they got that early. First with a rocket by Scott Stevens to open it after a win on the draw, a clean win by Holik, and then the hard-working goal by Sikora. So that bench has to be a whole lot more confident than when this game started.
Puck squibbed through to be worked to the corner, and a close off there by Mogilny. Up for grabs, thrown behind to Mogilny, worked over by Simpson. And so the Panthers control. If you talk to Devils fans who are far more students of history through cruel years than the Devils team is, they would say a goal by the defense would be great, because last year that didn't happen much in the playoffs. Bobby Holik getting a point would be terrific too, because he had difficulty last playoffs. Sikora, one of the young guys, scoring a goal would be magnificent, especially if Elias assisted, and Malakoff a newcomer. And that's what's happened so far too.
Yeah, nothing builds confidence like success in scoring goals. And the guys that you look to, especially the Jason Arnott line, who said repeatedly, yeah, we know we're the go-to line, and we're up for the challenge, and they get an early start.
The Flyers say, who is this guy Hasek anyway? Langkow with 2 goals, 1 shorthanded. The Flyers leading at home against Buffalo, 2-0. Yanni Laukkanen has scored for Pittsburgh in Washington. That is a 1-0 lead for the Penguins. 7th seed against the 2nd there. It is Simpson corralling it in neutral ice. The 2nd leading penalty getter in the NHL this year. The leader was Denny Lambert.
Well, that first goal by the Devils was a thing of beauty. There's Sikora throwing it deep. Now that could have been icing, but there you're going to see Elias winning the battle, and he just lets it go. But watch the work by number 17 here, Sikora, right in front. Watch how he works. It goes behind. Now this is a one-on-one battle. Actually, Hedican had early body position, but just some great maneuvering by number 17, Sikora. Wins it, and then walks out front, and with the screen and havoc being created by his centerman, Jason Arnott, Peter Sikora is able to drill home the backhand.
Devils have won 6 of the 9 faceoffs, and they've had 5 of the 6 scoring chances in the game, converting on 2. Stevens from Holik at 138. Sikora from Malakoff and Elias at 402. The shots right now are 6-2 in favor of New Jersey. Vladimir Malakoff bringing it ahead. Got it on to White. Pass off the tip of the stick of Pandolfo. He races down and got there first. That's been the story so far. The Devils getting to pucks first. Pandolfo up with it again. Tried to center for Madden. Corralled by Spacek, and he's able to feather a pass through, but blocked away by Madden. Spacek just flies it on back, and it's gloved down by Colin White. First-year defenseman on to first-year centerman John Madden, and it's laid back ahead. Malakoff controls and put one off. Madden skate back in, then Malakoff given a little bit of a shove by Worrell. Anything that Worrell does, including skate or take a pass, draws a reaction from the crowd. And it's Peter Worrell run into and jostling a bit with Bobby Holik. It's flown back off, and Worrell takes over there and lays it on back. Svela gives over to Hedican, then ahead to Mellanby for a touch back in. We'll see if they can get there first, but they cannot. Stevens gave it up, though, for Mellanby. Scott Mellanby around behind, took lumber from Malakoff. Leaned on pretty well, and at the wall, it's kicked back down. Sent away from Stevens, but kept alive by Hedican. Good battle with Randy McKay, and it's spiked on back by Hedican, gives to Mellanby. Walks in and shoots one. Sticks a Brodeur. Rebound. Grab by Brodeur on the bounce, and play is stopped. Midway in the first period, game one. 2 goals, both for New Jersey.
Win some hockey games in advance, and that's their only focus. And so far, it's been a letter-perfect start for them as they've gotten the 2 goals with some hard work. They haven't been pretty goals. They've come off some nice work down low, and a one off the face-off.
Rob Niedermeyer chased out. Worrell will take the draw with Nemchinov. Colin White. Laid back off the glass by Pandolfo. It's regathered by Spacek. Robert Lang of Pittsburgh had not scored a Stanley Cup playoff goal, but he has one now. Penguins are ahead in Washington 2-0. Laid away from Laws, grabbed by Malakoff. So we have 3-2-0 leads in the games tonight. The only scoreless one, Los Angeles and Detroit. Floated back on. Worrell nubbed it down and crossed, and a rising backhander shot down by Brodeur. And he tried to cover, but it was swept away. Back to the wall and swung down by Worrell was John Madden. Meanwhile, Pandolfo ahead with a drive that's snagged by Vernon. Swung right back for the turning Peter Worrell. He has been the lightning rod of attention for Devils fans tonight. To an extent, the Devils, but more so the Patriots. Back ahead, it is lost and carried in by Whitney on an offside.
Well, Terry Murray is still juggling his lines. He put up Paul Loss, Rob Niedermeyer in the middle, and Peter Worrell on the left. Probably the biggest line that he could ice. And it paid some dividends. There, Peter Worrell throws the high shot at Brodeur. Marty waiting to find it, has a drop in front of him. And then he gets some good help from the Devils defense, who've done a good job of backing into Martin and then blocking out the Panthers, trying to penetrate through and trying to scoop up any loose rebounds. So far, the Devils out hitting the Panthers 10-6, and that was one thing they wanted to establish. Like, this is going to be a physical series, and it's going to grow as the series goes on.
In the big hit department, 16 regular hits, and there have been 6 big hits, divided equally at 3 each. Gomez feeds to the back. Danico shovels shot, and it went wide and struck the back of the cage. Lemieux twirls with that. Claude Lemieux stashed it on for Gomez, turned it on to Alexander Mogilny. That jab from him by Hedican and taken by the Panthers, and quickly worked ahead for Parrish. Parrish wanted to go by. Bombardier said no. Laid a pass ahead that's floated back by Hedican. Parrish, watched by Bombardier, able to spirit a pass through to Whitney. Fed it on a cross for a hurried shot that's deflected from Svela and brought on by Bombardier. Bombardier's pass skipped away from Claude Lemieux and is turned back out by Hedican. So now Sillinger for Florida. Nice pass ahead. Crossing, it's Whitney. But then he went down to the ice and the puck rolled off his stick for Claude Lemieux to bring back. Lemieux tried to tee it up, could not. It's poked high off of Arnott. Slugged ahead by Wilson. And Lemieux couldn't come up with it. It's just chopped back down the ice frustratedly by Parrish for the icing touch-up.
Landing, they switched planes, arrived here about 2 hours late.
Okay, Matt, thanks. Those are always fun stories when they end positively.
Right, and you're not a part of those. I don't want to be a part of any plane stories that are not routine.
Bobby Holik on the draw, back to Stevens. Scott Stevens moves in, fires, and it's held by Vernon. Bob Sauvé was a goaltender here in New Jersey, and he related the story that occurred over a decade ago. The team took off from Teterboro and there was an engine problem, so they circled and went back over Giant Stadium to land in Teterboro. He said, we were so low over Giant Stadium, the Giants were practicing and we could read the numbers on their jerseys. But that was another one of those stories that ended okay. Devils have done well on faceoff so far, 9 of 12. Bobby Holik and Sillinger will try again. But Holik waved out by Ray Scapinello. And so Sergei Brelin comes in. Sillinger, 61.3% since becoming a Panther on faceoffs. That is tremendous. Didn't win this one, though. Stevens shoves it to the corner. There to get it is Bobby Holik. Thrown on goal and a good save, Vernon. Stevens fires, and that one deflected high. In front of Vernon was McKay, and that presented a problem to him.
Well, Scott Stevens has come out firing, and he scored the first goal. You know, Scotty Stevens is using a stick that I said is getting to be outdated. And Mike, what it is, it's composite, but it has aluminum still as part of the ingredients. You know, aluminum sticks were the rave for a while, but now no one uses aluminum, and that stick there that he's using will soon be outdated, and he won't be able to get any more. He said what we have now is probably all we're going to be able to use, and they go 4 rounds. He's got about 8 sticks left. That's only 2 sticks around. He's going to have to be very careful about how much cross-checking he does, or at least going to have to be careful how he does it.
He'll have to get some of Brad Park's old original aluminum ones from the 80s. Rafalski moves in. Wrist shot is answered by Vernon. Because I imagine Brad has saved some of those old aluminums. He was one of the leaders in getting that whole thing started. For old timers games, maybe he uses them. Here's Holik with a shot. Oh, scramble at the front of the goal. And it is immediately ruled no goal. The off-ice officials, the goal judges, and the supervisor are from the New York Rangers tonight.
Well, Larry Robinson has changed his lineup a little bit from the opening shift. Now, number 18 up to the right is Sergei Brelin. He's out there with McKay and Holik, and that's a line that is going to drive to the net. Larry Robinson says, you got to pay your tolls if you want to score the goals. Now, there you see how close that puck came to crossing the line, but who can handle Randy McKay? Even Mike Wilson, who's about 4 inches taller, has trouble with big McKay in front, who maneuvers as well as anyone in traffic.
Very good experienced goal judges, Charlie Joyce and Adam Geaver from the New York Rangers. Bernie Ryan is the supervisor at playoff time. 3 neutral officials travel. Shot deflected from the stick of Colin White that was cut off. 2 goal judges and a supervisor. They are the ones who make the trip. So we will always have off-ice officials from other cities during the playoffs at every site. Colin White brushed that one ahead. Stepping on now is Arnott, and he flung it right back in deep. Brett Hedican after that one. Thrown back along, but into some traffic, though it's picked up by Rob Niedermeyer. Hands on to Mellenby. Scott Mellenby shook it right back in. Brodeur behind to stop. Laid one on his backhand that's cut off by Hicks, but he couldn't center. And dropped back to neutral ice. It is Spacek laying it back across. He and Svela have been reunited after the first couple of shifts. In the warm-up, they did not play together, as well as the first few shifts in the game. It was Svela, who's been with Spacek for a couple of years now, playing with Brett Hedican instead. Spacek put one off Mellenby, quickly grabbed by White, but a misfired pass got hung up, and Worrell came up with it, and then is run into across the way by Claude Lemieux. Play halted, 5:31 left in the first period, and the Devils are leading to...
Well, that shouldn't surprise anyone, Mike. Over the course of the season, the Devils outshot their opponents by over 600 shots, and they want to continue that dominance, and they have started that way here in this first playoff game.
Stevens and Sikora have gotten the goals for New Jersey. In case you're just joining us, the first 2 goals in the game belong to the Devils. And they've had the advantage in territorial play. Worrell bumped into Bombardier. Meanwhile, the bouncer back ahead, collared by Bombardier and swung back out, taken by Pitlick, but followed up by Pandolfo for New Jersey. That one broke down at the line, and Laws handed it across to Spacek. Crisply on to Worrell, flips over the traffic and moves ahead. Flung one into the backhand grabbing glove of Brodeur, stashed it back for Nemchinov. Sergei Nemchinov right in front of his own cage with a pass on for Pandolfo, and it's popped out of play at the photographer's stand. We've not talked about Burry a lot in the action of this first period.
No, he hasn't seen as much ice time as we might anticipate, although he's out there now. But he's the type of guy, Mike, and you've seen many, many great players like this. You don't notice him for big parts of the game, and boom, then he unpredictably shows up right at the right moment and hammers home a goal. And he, as much as any player in the National Hockey League, will slide all over the ice. He will show up at some very odd spots on the ice, trying to get out of traffic and being forgotten about, even more so than Jágr. Jágr does some of the same type of maneuvering, but Jágr's so much larger. He can play in traffic. Pavel Bure never really wants to be in the thick of things until absolutely necessary.
What about Mario Lemieux? You played against him.
Mario was a little bit like that. Yeah, he was less of a physical guy, as well as more like Bure than maybe Jágr. Jágr would impress me about Jágr. He can play the power game when he needs to.
A setup for Breland. Score! 3-0, Sergei Breland.
Well, the Devils practice for 2 hard days, working the puck down low with a couple of guys behind the goal line. And look at this triangle right there. There you see McKay down on the ice. Good support, Holik, good support by McKay. Takes it to his forehead. What a reach by Breland. This puck is going to be deflected. I think it's Simpson here. Oh, what a second effort. First of all by Holik, follow up by McKay. But watch, this puck is deflected off the toe of the stick of Simpson, and Breland's able to reach it. And what happens when you have to reach out as far as Breland does? When you bring that thing in and follow through, you can really get a lot of zip on that puck, and he just ripped that up under the crossbar. That shouldn't surprise anyone. Last year in the playoffs, Sergei Breland was tied as the top goal scorer for the Devils with 3, and he gets started here early in this first game.
It is Danico, it is Mogilny, it is Gomez, and it's deep. Pitlick moving in, jostled with Gomez. They waltz to the glass. Spun along to Parrish. Flung back near Brad Bombardier, and he turned right into Whitney. The puck coughed up, popped back in by Sillinger, but grabbed off by Claude Lemieux. Scaled around for Danico. Played back for Mogilny. Mogilny with a pass that's away from Gomez. The sing-song cheer you hear is Vernon over and over again. Mogilny threw one in front, and that one was trouble for the Florida Panthers. Deep Mogilny for Gomez, and he popped a shot wide off of Hennigan. Overwhelming right now. Whitney a drive, grabbed off by Brodeur. Played on to Lemieux, run into with an elbow from Hennigan. Played ahead to Arnott, moving in, across, but a handcuffing pass for Elias. Arnott digs it out, wants to try again, but it's Niedermeyer on to Mellanby, and the Devils' pace is very strong. Here's Hicks with a pass. Mellanby fed one, Niedermeyer score! Rob Niedermeyer on a 3-on-2 passing play has gotten a goal for Florida.
Well, and that occurred after the Devils missed the golden opportunity with Vernon out of the net. Mogilny missed the great chance, but look at this passing. 2 of the finest passes you're ever going to see under pressure. And that was Mellanby whipping the pass across. Watch this first pass. Hicks with sticks all over the place. He is able to find the seam. And then Mellanby behind number 7, Malikoff. A bullet pass across to Niedermeyer, who just directs it into the net. And not very often you find Marty Brodeur not even be able to stretch out a leg, but that's how quickly the passes were made, and all Brodeur could try and do is reach back with his stick, but he wasn't able to get any wood on the puck, and it ended up in the net.
Niedermeyer from Mellanby and Hicks at 16:51. First goal of the playoffs, of course, for Rob Niedermeyer, the 8th of his career. Madden pushed it back in. Todd Simpson tripped up by Pandolfo, gets it ahead. Fed back across, but some trouble there. Forced on by Wilson, but kept by Nemchinov, closed off by Kavasha, and it skipped from Worrell. Worrell recovers, couldn't get it through. Malikoff then, and there'll be a penalty coming up. It'll be against Florida. Paul Laws bangs into a man as it put in on Vernon, and play is stopped. Worrell having words with Pandolfo, but a penalty coming up to Florida.
Well, Peter Worrell has received received about 5 solid checks from the Devils so far this evening, and he's been very disciplined. I've noticed he's really done a good job of keeping his elbows low, but in this situation, reaching for the puck. There you see, this one he felt more pressure, and he said 5 is okay, but the 6th one, I'm gonna take things into my own hands, and his hands is what got him in trouble. Oh, what a left hand right to the jaw of John Madden. And I'm sure after 5 or 6 solid checks, you start to feel like you're a target. And Peter Worrell must feel that way, but at least for a while, he's gonna have to cool it in the penalty box. You know, that's a tough penalty for Terry Murray and his team. They just score a goal, and then to give back the momentum to the Devils, not a good sign.
The Devils at home have been tremendous on the power play. They finished 3rd overall this year.
But there you see, how about at home? First, 23.8%, Mike, and you know, specialty teams are so critical, and they must feel very confident at home. And they worked a lot on it these last couple days as well. We'll have to see if that pays dividends.
Sikora, Holik, Arnott shoots, knocked loose in front off a skate. Holik with the collision and Svela. Elias peels away. Patrick Elias to Arnott. In deep to Holik. Holik had to get some control, was hit by Svela, and it's fed to the back to Arnott, given over to Rafalski. Rafalski, wrister! Pinballed right back out, kept alive by the Devils, though. Bobby Holik, Rafalski, and Elias. From the circle, Elias looks, dealt it on into Sikora, got it back again. Elias looking his team ahead by 2. Rafalski once more. Elias again. Dealt it in deep. It's tipped for Sikora. Tried to return, but it's cut and thrown back down. 15 shots to 5 in favor of New Jersey. They lead in the game 3-1. Pittsburgh has now gone ahead of Washington 3-0 in the first. The Kings and the Red Wings scoreless. And Philadelphia with a 2-0 lead over Buffalo. It is Mogilny. Gomez wipes out. Hustling back to play defense is Lemieux. It's given up to Malakoff. Down to the last 35 seconds of the power play. Claude Lemieux taking over in the final minute of the period. Brought back ahead by Lemieux. The pass too far for Gomez. Swung on back by Wilson. Skipped loose and is pumped aside by Malakoff, but walked right back ahead by Simpson for a drive that's deflected wide by Stevens. Jam back for Gomez. Fed it across, and Stevens will skate that down. Hands it on now for the tip by Mogilny. Gets it. Cuts around behind. Mogilny fed it to the back to Stevens. Shoots one. Save. Vernon. Rebound. Oh, just across the net mouth where Gomez was alone. Cleared into Malakoff. Kept by Mogilny, but deflected out again by Len Barry. Mellenby shoulders with Stevens. And it's threaded on through for the arriving Svela, giving to Worrell with a drive. He scores! Peter Worrell just out of the box. Cranks one with 16.5 left.
Well, there's times in practice where players will put the puck on end and throw long shots at the goaltender just to have some fun, because these are so unpredictable. They're like a long knuckleball. Look at that puck, right sitting flat on its end, and that thing is moving and dipping and diving as it comes at Brodeur. He tries to stay with it. I think it takes off. That one looked like it went over the glove of Martin Brodeur. Brodeur got a piece of it with his cuff, but I'm sure that it was very sweet for Peter Worrell as he took a penalty at a terrible time for his team shortly after they had scored. But he steps out of the box, moves about 15-20 feet, and hammers one home. Big goal for them here with only 15 seconds left in the first period.
Svela gets the assist, and that is the only one. And so an energetic first period up to a point, and things end rather quietly.
Playoffs, they had to overcome that psychological barrier. And you know, it's interesting, they score the 3, you just think, okay, it's going to be a nice, clean, easy win, but they find a way to make it difficult.
Elias' shot, and it's blocked off by Vernon. As the line that started the game starts the period and nearly connects in the first 20 seconds. Shoveled back in. Alex Hicks did that. White was checked. Puck fed back over for Elias. The ice time for Burry was really interesting. Backhand grab by Vernon. Just over 3 minutes. The ice time for Peter Worrell was pretty interesting. Under 7. Shot snagged by Vernon and put back into play. Robert Svela up with that, laid it off, and it clicked off of Malakoff and is sent on back.
You probably noticed the -2 for Bure in those 3 minutes. That makes him a -8 now against the Devils so far this season.
It is jammed back over for Svela. The Devils have scored 13 goals in 4 games, discounting the last game that Stevens didn't play. Here's Bure in front. Oh, and a stack pad saved by Brodeur. We'll get back to that thought in a moment. The more prominent thought is that Bure got his first good chance of the game and Brodeur denied him.
Well, again, Bure is going to appear out of nowhere. A bouncing puck here finds its way over to the office of Pavel Bure. The left side of the net. I guess if you're facing it, the right side, but right where number 10 there Bure is now, I bet you he scored over half of his goals from that position. And he arrives when he feels that his team has a chance to pass him the puck. He doesn't get there too early. And that time, Martin Brodeur, who told me this morning that he's always got his eye on Bure. He doesn't really he's concerned with what else is going on, but he always keeps his eye on number 10, and he was able to find him.
Won by Barry, fired by Bure, and it went off the leg of Breland. Steered back on now for Stevens to lay ahead to McKay. Randy McKay just dumps it back in. Breland goes to get that. Todd Simpson there with him. Holik run into, and a pile of players with the puck underneath, and it squirts to Holik. Holik fed in front. Oh, and nearly a combination with McKay. Drive by Rafalski, and it went through the crease wide. Kept by Stevens. Stevens a wrist shot, jabbed to the front of the net, but saved by Vernon as McKay got a piece of that one. Now it's Rafalski. Laid ahead too far for Bure, but down for an icing touch-up. And so the face-off will come back near Martin Brodeur.
Randy McKay, a physical force, getting position in front of the net. And I don't know if there's a forward in the National Hockey League, but I'd sooner play against less than Randy McKay. There you see a huge pile of humanity going down on the ice, but coming up first was Bobby Holik, and he tries to find McKay, and a good play by Simpson in front of the net to lift the stick of McKay just as the puck arrived.
Buffalo down 2-0 has tied Philadelphia. Miroslav Shatan has tied the game up. Slava Kozlov has put Detroit ahead of Los Angeles 1-0 in the second. And Pittsburgh with a 3-0 lead on the Washington Capitals. It's one back to Pitlick. Shot went wide. It is Worrell after the rebound. Pressed there by Bombardier. Worrell had it knifed away by Bombardier. Worrell persists. Bombardier matching him stride for stride. Then Worrell a backhander that's knocked away. It skipped on back, and Pitlick's able to keep play alive for Florida. Worrell moving in, and it's slammed to the boards and glass by Danico. Spacek back to get it. Spacek swings it back behind. Worrell takes it there. Lost one off his stick in front. Bouncing puck is hacked back over to Gomez, and he starts ahead. Scott Gomez lays it on the wing for Mogilny. Pulls up and shoots one that went across the net mouth wide. Danico tried to play it, but the Panthers are able to control in the person of Whitney. Ray Whitney hooked at by Gomez. Closed off by Gomez. Started ahead by Claude Lemieux. Lemieux bringing it back in. Pitlick duels with him. Gomez picks up the loose one. Got it to Mogilny, and a shot was slowed and was jabbed at by Vernon, and then swung wide of his cage by Malakoff. Mogilny tried to pull the trigger quickly, and it's Kavasha. Just over 3 minutes played, second period. The Devils scored the first 3, the Panthers the next 2. All the scoring was in the first. Claude Lemieux takes it there. His pass is kept by Madden and spun behind. Spacek gallops to that one and is able to poke it high and back over the shoulder of Malakoff. 20 shots to 8 New Jersey in the game. 4 this period to 2 for Florida. Colin White laid it back out. Svela handed it across. Angled back out, but collared by Malakoff. Then back over to Colin White. Madden. The bouncer went back in. Hedican touched it up for an icing. Larry Robinson was asked this morning if he could remember the first game that he ever played in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and he said, yes, I was scared stiff. Well, you have to think that guys like Madden and Colin White would at least have a few butterflies as they're on the ice right now in their first games of the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight.
Well, you're right. I talked to John Madden after the skate this morning, and I said, how you feeling? He said, I am so excited. I said to Sergei Brilin, my line mate, he said, you think Larry Robinson would just let me sit here the whole afternoon in my gear and just get ready for the game? He wasn't thinking pre-game meal and nap. He said, all I want to do is get that first one under my belt. And this is an important series for John Madden. He said, yeah, I've established myself as a regular season player, but now I've got to do it and show that I can play in the playoffs as well.
Not everybody can come up with that magic. Claude Lemieux has been one of the fortunate ones. Well, fortunate is a cheap way to say that he's tremendously skillful, but particularly at this time of year. That went off Sillinger, poked on back. Back ahead with this now is Pavel Bure. Slammed to the boards with a resounding thud by the rookie Rafalski, and then it's put on goal for the save by Brodeur. Now then Stevens. Two guys about the same height went to the boards. Rafalski had the momentum and the bulk to make that one sound. This one skipped over for John Madden. Lays it ahead to Nemchinov. Nemchinov coasting right in, around in front, off Madden, it's kicked loose, and then controlled by the Panthers and jabbed back as far as center. Well, that looked like something that was nothing for a moment. Here is Hicks, fed one in front, and Bure was tightly checked by Peter Sikora, and it's fed on back. Spacek got it on through for control by Hicks, shooting, and it went wide. Around, and it's Niedermeyer. Chipping it back in deep. Alex Hicks tries to play and worked over by Arnott. Help came from Stevens. Took the hit and lobbed it back down, and the puck flaps in on goaltender Mike Vernon. Now it's fed for Pitlick, but off his stick, he has to hurry around behind. A rather death-defying pass that he had to deal with. Centering pass, and Pitlick cleared that one away. Couple of pretty good plays by Lance Pitlick. He was set up and handcuffed and almost ambushed by his teammate on the first one. Lobbed on back for the glove down. Puck poked on through and hacked at by Mellanby. Corralled by Elias and forced on back. 5.5 played, second period. No change in the score. Stevens, Sikora, and Breland scored for New Jersey. Niedermeyer and Worrell. A drive by Mellanby, deflected wide by Danico. Turnaround shot by Worrell, and that one is wide. Spela there, crunched off, but it's brought ahead by Bobby Holik. Worrell back on defense. Holik tries to go by and does, but he's taken down on the play after the puck rolled off his stick. Around behind now, it's taken by Spela, jammed on for Worrell, and Peter Worrell drops it on back further for the Panthers to attack. Scott Mellanby floats it back out for Niedermeyer to be checked off. Bobby Holik peels on back and just lobs one that's knifed down by Worrell. McKay drops back further. It's handed over to Danico, laid back ahead for Breland. Sergei Breland wrists it back to the corner, and it sails off the glass. Simpson to take that with 6.5 gone.
Well, it's interesting, all the fanfare and focus on Pavel Bure, but the players had the most impact for his team on the Panthers has been Peter Worrell. He scored a goal, just made a great defensive play on Bobby Holik.
Indeed. We'll be back.
Not getting beat one-on-one by Bobby Holik.
If you take the 3 stars now, he's one of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Randy McKay up with that and pitched it back out. Wilson hands it back across. Chances are in a 3-2 game, you'd give the Devils 2 of the stars and Florida the other one. Oh, what a shot by Barrie, and getting a piece of that was Brodeur.
That was a great save, Mike. That was another one of the knuckleballs in a Hummer.
Well, an icing call, and the faceoff will come back near Martin Brodeur.
Hey, the pressure's on the big guy between the pipes right now for the Devils. And look at this right pad save. Oh my goodness, what a stretch. And Barrie can really bring it. Look at that puck, bounce, bounce, bounce. But Barrie does a wonderful job of catching all of that piece of rubber. And that is perhaps the most important save of the game for Martin Brodeur. What happens is when Marty gives up a goal like he did late in the game on a long shot, you feel like you're more responsible for the pressure the team is now under. So you're saying to yourself, I can't give up another one. And Martin hasn't so far, but the Panthers continue to storm. They've had a good couple of scoring chances here in the second.
Bury is out right now, so is Stevens, and Stevens plays it ahead for New Jersey to Claude Lemieux and trickled on back. Simpson blocked by Gomez. Simpson retreats along with Wilson. Jam back over. Breland couldn't get it, but Gomez could and fires. Oh, deflected, score! It went over the line, but we get a stoppage of play. I think there may be a ruling that the whistle had blown. Immediately, the referee, Dennis Leroux, waved his arm saying no goal. The puck appeared to me to have gone over the line and into the net, but we'll see.
Well, the puck was never stopped totally. Now, that doesn't mean that the referee did not lose sight of it, but it is going to be a goal. Gary Fraser at center ice. This is a weird bounce, but Scotty Gomez right up here. Excuse me, that was Breland driving to the net. And I don't know if Sergei Breland hits the puck as he's going to the net or just provides a screen. But this is a good play by Gomez. Right there, no, I think it's Gomez gets the goal. Breland with the screen. It hit the pad of Vernon and then slid back across underneath him and just got across the goal line. We'll have to wait for the announcement. Either way, it's those two guys instrumental in giving the Devils a 2-goal lead.
Danico flops one that's gloved down by Robert Svela. A 4-2 lead. And it is Parrish. Mogilny. Flown on back by Randy McKay. So Gomez gets his first Stanley Cup playoff goal in his first Stanley Cup playoff game. Boy, pretty good grab there by Hedican, or it might have been a Devil off to the races. Unassisted goal for Gomez. It goes unassisted. Was I the only one confused by the signals of Dennis Leroux on this?
Well, no, there was a discussion afterwards. There's the shot through the screen. Beautiful height, perfect height by Scott Gomez as he was able to miss the sticks and the feet. But you could see there where Vernon couldn't quite get it with his catching hand, just below the glove. And a heads-up play by Scotty Gomez. And we mentioned it before. You'll see, watch to the left here. It goes underneath Vernon. It was never completely stopped. Never did hit the back of the net. But enough of it got across, and it resulted in the first ever NHL goal for Scott Gomez.
So a 4-2 game for New Jersey and an important goal. An attempt to center fails. Brodeur back the other way, and you mentioned that very significant save on Len Barry. Elias moving in, driving one that's deflected wide, and then the net dislodged behind Mike Vernon, and we get a halt to play. But what about that save he made on Bury in the very first 15 to 20 seconds of the period two?
Good point. Couple of key saves by that man there, and that's why he's considered one of the best. Has great or has strong mental concentration after giving up a weak goal. And it's never one weak goal that tends to hurt you, it's the second or the third. But Martin refusing to yield here in the second. Terry Murray shaking his head, knowing how critical a goal that was by Scott Gomez just moments ago, because it was a nothing play. It was a broken breakout by the Panthers where they got a bad bounce off the boards. And again, it resulted in a screen goal. That's two being scored by the Devils. And that was their game plan. Lots of traffic in front of Vernon and get the puck to the net.
Offside called. So I know it's academic at this point, but it was your interpretation that it was probably changed. Dennis Leroux had signaled some uncertainty about it in his second playoff game, and Gary Fraser now in his 179 said, look, that one goes. That's we're saying this not having talked to either guy, but that's what it looked like.
That's what it looked like to me. Now there's the great save by Brodeur, the Barry save you were just talking about, and that was within a minute and a half of the Gomez goal. So what a huge momentum change. Yeah, I think, you know what, the whistle may have even gone, Mike, but I think with the two referees, Fraser was able to designate that, no, the goal should count. You may have lost sight of it, but it did get across the goal line before the whistle. So Martin Brodeur thinking it may have been an easy game. Not very often does he get a 3-goal lead in a playoff game. Tonight he did. But the Panthers, with 2 late goals in the first, came out and really dominated the first 7 minutes. But now the Devils seem to be back on track and have the momentum with some good offensive chances.
Yuri Slager has scored for Pittsburgh. That is 4-0 Penguins in Washington in the second period.
Well, that's very critical. The first game in Washington, but remember, the next two will go back to Pittsburgh, so they could be up 3-0 before the Washington Caps get a chance for their second home game.
Pitlick lays it through now for Peter Worrell. Buffalo gave up the first two, but has gotten two back and tied the game in Philadelphia. That in the second period. Los Angeles trailing Detroit 1-0 on the Kozlov goal. Later on tonight, Phoenix will play. Worrell with a shot that got the glass. Phoenix will be playing Colorado. This one bounced back in, and once again it is Brodeur laying it along, but taken by Kavasha, thrown to the front, and that glanced off Brodeur. Played back in deep. Len Barry got it to the back. Shovel shot went high, waving at it Kavasha as it cracked off the glass, and then Pandolfo just wedges it back out. Svela up with that. Pushed one by Barry. Ken Danico to take that. Danico banged it back off. That one kicked loose, went off of Nemchinov, floated on back now for Barry. Controlling it is Kozlov, then it's out for Svela. Backhander tipped aside, scramble in front, and it struck Brodeur's stick, and then he hangs on, and then he gets up and sort of leans into the crowd a little bit as some jostling results.
Well, the Panthers trying to do the same thing that has been successful for the Devils, and that is get in the face of Martin Brodeur. And I asked him yesterday, I said, Marty, you feel that the Panthers are a team that is able to pressure a goaltender around the crease? And he says, oh, definitely. So they scored a couple down in Florida just off this type of a play. And there you see, oh, it's Barry with the whack. And that's why Martin Brodeur chases down number 9. Well, because he knows that Barry's not whacking at the puck. And there you see Marty with the one save. And Barry continuing to whack away. Forwards will do that, Mike. They're hoping, even if they don't get the puck, maybe they can whack the arm, the stick hand of the goaltender, and cause him to move the stick from away from between his legs. It's really an interference call, but of course, if you do it well enough, you usually get away with it.
Puck flipped along. Chico said that very knowingly, yes. Didn't he? Work back on the wing for Claude Lemieux, and he's chased off, thrown back along by Wilson, and back down. And we'll have an icing touch-up coming here. Play stopped with 9:48 to go, second period. 21 shots to 10, New Jersey. They lead 4-2.
Do it and quit talking about it. And Bobby Holik hasn't said much so far in this playoffs verbally. You know, he's always a guy that can capitalize and dissect what's going on with the team, but he's been very low profile.
Here's Holik shooting and getting a piece of it. Vernon, it popped to the seats. And Randy McKay and Bobby Holik are joined on this line now by Alexander Mogilny. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, Mogilny playing the left side now. He started with Gomez and Lemieux. But it's been Sergei Brylin who has really done the jostling, being juggled from line to line. He started with Madden's line, then he went up to the Holik line, and now he looks like he's going to be out with Gomez. But the good news for Sergei Brylin, Doc, after the first period, he was a +2. He was on for the goal when Gomez scored, so that makes him +3. So he has chosen the correct times to grab the right line that looks like they're going to score a goal. And he's having an outstanding game, as is Bobby Holik. You know, he hasn't scored, but he and Randy McKay have really established a physical presence for the Devils, which is the first step in scoring goals. Larry Robinson was saying that as much as he doesn't mind Bobby Holik going into the corners, what he most likes about Holik is when he's circling in front of the net, driving to the net for a loose puck, shooting the puck. He would much sooner that McKay was digging out in the corners, and that's really the way they scored the goal, if you remember. It was McKay who got the puck to Brylin, and it was Holik in front doing the screening.
Lance Pitlick was just brought back because of an attempt made to try and get a different combination out there, and the home team gets the last change, and it had been had. Brylin moving in front. Oh, and a rising shot. Just missed the net. So it's brought ahead by Sillinger. His team down by 2. Whitney couldn't come up with it. Claude Lemieux could. Dumped it back. Gomez diving play over to Brylin. Tees it up. Backhander kicked out by Vernon. And the rebound spiked away. Brylin playing with tremendous confidence, isn't he? Back ahead now comes Sillinger. Tipped away and regathered by Pavel Bure. Lobbed ahead for Sillinger. Handed on to Whitney, and a save made by Brodeur. Hacked along by Scott Stevens. The bouncer controlled by Svela. Hands it on across for Bure. Shuttles it back. A shot went wide from Wilson's stick. Played back by Gomez. Brought on with Claude Lemieux. To a side, and the drive went right in on goal. So Wilson misfired for Svela. Thrown back by Sillinger. And with 8.5 minutes to go in the second period, Stevens got out of the way of a hit by Hicks. Wilson through to Bure. Pavel Bure trying to get by, stood up by Rafalski, and the play went offside. Devils have done a good job thus far. And you always say thus far, as you did with Yager and with Mario Lemieux when he played, thus far in stalemating Bure.
A lot of people might wonder how feisty this Pavel Bure is. What does he do when he's challenged physically? Well, watch this play here. Now, we showed earlier Rafalski drilling him into the board. And there you see the left hand of Pavel Bure to the jaw of Brian Rafalski. And I remember the last time Bure was in the playoffs. They were playing the Dallas Stars. And Shane Churchill, who actually one time played for the Rangers, was a feisty player who was in his face a lot. And it was Pavel Bure in the middle of that series who came around and threw an elbow and knocked Shane Churchill out. So don't underestimate Pavel Bure physically. He takes it so far, and then he can snap with some of the best of them. And of course, if you're going to play the way he does, Mike, you have to get dirty and nasty at times, or players just continually take advantage of you and start abusing you.
Danico up with that and jammed it back out. So you cannot have the white hat on if the others are wearing the dark hats. You have to come out and just answer, or otherwise you're run out of it, right?
Well, that's right. I think I know all the great scorers, great goal scorers, had a little dirty streak to them. And certainly Pavel Bure has. And he said that. He says, I could play it either way. He says, I would like to be a guy that doesn't get into the traffic and have to crash and bang, because he's only 5'10", 190 pounds at the most. But anyone who, he said, you know, I've been challenged physically my whole career. So playing against Stevens and what I expect the Devils will do to me is nothing new. He said, if that was going to stop me, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Gordie Howe, mean streak.
Yep.
Phil Esposito,
mean streak.
Mellanby fed one to the slot. A wrist shot is blocked away as it came from Hicks. Drubbed back on, but off Sikora's stick. Forced right back in deep, and it's Mellanby. Mellanby fed one in front, and a shot by Rob Niedermeyer got the outside. Another try, and around behind they scrap for it. It's Alex Hicks there. Stood up for a moment by Arnott, but Hicks escapes. Fed on to Mellanby. Quick shot, blocked by Brodeur. And it's Danico. As the Panthers were getting an opportunity, so Danico just put it up into the seats and got the halt to play.
Rob Niedermeyer scored a goal tonight. Only 10 for the season. He's looking to redeem himself here in the playoffs. But he's been put out there with Mellanby and Alex Hicks. And they've done some good work down low. We talk about the Holik-McKay combination. This line gets it done in a similar fashion. There's a couple whacks by Alex Hicks as he continues to battle. But, you know, it's a Jason Arnott line out there with Sikora and Eliash, and they did a good job of blocking out the front of the net, and I think that's why Larry Robinson has no problem with that line playing against the top offensive line of the opposition, the Arnott line, because they are very good defensively.
Kavasha. Spacek. Madden hooked up with Spacek. Malakoff steps into Worrell. Rolled back out again by Madden. Back for this is Paul Laws, converted defenseman to forward. Trying to control, lost it for Pandolfo, but instead it came across for a little pitching move by Spacek. More trouble. Madden a shot right on goal, handled by Vernon. Spacek again. For Laws, but Pandolfo. To a side, and Laws, a little lean on the back, a little lacrosse check with a follow through on Pandolfo, who steps right back in to his offender. So it is White laying it back for Malakoff. Well, what do you think about the second? 6.5 to go.
Well, it's certainly been a physical period, and both teams have had good chances. Mike Vernon's in an interesting situation. He's already given up 4, and talking to the Panthers and the players and the management, they feel that he is the key, and so do I. Mike, I don't think the Panthers will win without great goaltending by that man. And he's a chatterbox. He brings a lot of confidence. But so far, a couple of the goals have squeezed through Mike. And Mike knows that he can't give up 4 and 5 goals in a game if his team is going to win. And right now it's 4.
History tells us that the book on Vernon has been beat him between the pads. But tonight the Devils have been going high on him and have done okay.
That's a good point, exactly. They've done it with screens in front, and that's the combination you want. If you've got a player in front screening, 9 out of 10 times the goalie's going to cheat low, take away the low part, give you the high.
Oh, a score on the rebound. Sillinger with the shot on the rebound to the shot by Pitlick, and the Panthers are back to within 1. So it is a 1-goal game again. They just drove to the front of the net. Both Burry was there along with Ray Whitney and Sillinger is the one who connects.
Well, here's a turnover. Breland gets wiped out by Sillinger earlier than he expected. Lance Pitlick shot the puck on the right side of the net, and that's the key on that shot. If Pitlick shoots to the far side, the other side, the puck would go the opposite way. But with 2 Panthers driving out of the corner, Sillinger and Burry, either one of them has a chance for the rebound. And it was Sillinger who got a stick on it and hammered it home.
So just over 6 minutes to go. And the game shifts to being more in doubt again. Thrown back on now for Whitney. Whitney ahead to Sillinger, but gathered in by Rafalski. Ryan Rafalski accelerates ahead. Rafalski, a wrist shot, and it nubbed off the defense. Breland closes off his man. Gomez got in the way. Puck up for grabs, but it's forced over to Whitney and brought on by Sillinger. Lays it over on the bounce to Whitney. Swung one that went off Rafalski. Rafalski dumped it back ahead. Gomez brings it on. Scott Gomez walking it further. Gomez with a deceptive wrist shot through Svela, and it's handled by Vernon. And play is stopped. We'll return to the Meadowlands with more Stanley Cup action in a moment.
He's able to drive it home.
The Pittsburgh Penguins are ahead of Washington in Washington 6-0. Last we heard, Olaf Kolzig, who had started the game, was still in the goal for the Capitals. My goodness. Here is Barry. Tyler Wright scored his first ever playoff goal, just as Robert Lang has done. Let's hear from Matt Loughlin.
Well, Doc, I'm up in section 213 with a longtime Devils season ticket holder, John Rupke. And John, did you send an email today to Fox Sports Net?
Yes, I did.
And did it discuss a prediction made by the Maven Stan Fischler early in the season?
Absolutely. I had to take him to task for picking that joke of a team across the river earlier in the year.
You're talking about the Rangers. Stan said they were going to the Stanley Cup final. Well, you know what? We're going to take him to task, too, during the second intermission. Matt and the Maven edition. So, folks, stick around. Thanks, John.
All right, thanks, Matt.
Doc?
Oh, conspiracy there. Stan is only half wrong so far. San Jose, the other team he picked for the final, is still playing. They lost last night to St. Louis, but that second game will be coming up Saturday afternoon. Meanwhile here, it is 4-3 in favor of the Devils, with 4.5 to go in the second period. They came out and overwhelmed, if you're just joining us, getting the first 3 and just thoroughly outdistancing themselves from the Panthers. But the Panthers got 2 late in the first period and were in it. Gomez an unassisted goal in the second, but then the Panthers again answering a little over 6 minutes later. And we are in a 1-goal situation again, and play is stopped on an offside. Scoring chances are 15-7 in this game. 6 of 11 have been to Florida this period.
Well, not as loose as a bench as we saw about 15 minutes into the hockey game, as the Devils were really sailing along with no obstacles in front of them. But now they've dug themselves a hole, and it's probably the worst kind of hole they could have fallen into. It would have been much better if they had maybe fallen behind and then taken the lead that way. But when you take a huge lead and then you allow the other team to hang around and get back into it, of course they're only human, like just like us. I mean, as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, oh no, I mean, this, for their sake, this isn't going to be another collapse, is it? And of course that has to be some of the thoughts in their minds, and the Panthers have got to be thinking, let's just keep it up, boys. Give them a chance to shoot themselves in the foot. And the Devils, of course, really have to regroup now and get some quality chances on Vernon, something that hasn't happened in the last 5 minutes or so, since the Gomez goal, really.
It is Mellanby handing it on back, and the defense takes over. Robert Svela, it's forced across by Rob Niedermeyer. Floated back on by Colin White, and then gloved down by Malakoff, pawed into traffic and a hand pass. Game 2 of the Eastern Conference quarterfinal series with the Panthers, Sunday, April 16th, 7:30. Again, fans are asked to wear white. Game 2 at the arena is sponsored by Viatel. 6-0 lead over Washington in the second. Buffalo and Philadelphia tied 2-2 in the second. And Detroit ahead of Los Angeles 1-0 in the second. Forced back along by Rob Niedermeyer, but chipped back out by Elias. Down to the ice went Svela. Fired around, and Malakoff wiped out enough by Hicks. This went down on Brodeur. And he hooks it with a big goal stick. Away from Elias, it's Svela. Ladled back on, but Malakoff controls. Malakoff a pass to Elias, touch to Arnott. Back for Elias, tries to escape and does. Forced off his stick by Hedican in a strong play coming over from defense. Laid back ahead for Mellanby, then to Rob Niedermeyer. Niedermeyer a wrister that bounced off Malakoff. Malakoff able to emerge with it. Vladimir Malakoff, the pass to Elias, able to wend it as far as center, but then it's taken back over by Lance Pitlick. Flopped it back, it's gloved along, but kept by Niedermeyer. Niedermeyer dealt it around the wall. Mellanby fights free from Brodeur to try to play it. Punched right back to the half boards. Kept alive, though, by Niedermeyer, and then taken away by White. Ahead now comes Gomez. Nice kick to control move. Gomez drops. Lemieux a drive, and that one knocked down by the defense. Laid back ahead for Pavel Bure. Eyed up by Stevens. Bure a shot, and it didn't miss the long side by much. Kept alive for a drop back behind. Forced back off the shoulder of Bure by Brodeur. Scott Gomez tried to poke it through and could not. Interesting thing for the Devils tonight is that the players who are in rookie games for them have all performed pretty well. Rafalski is making the same moves he did in the regular season. Scott Gomez has scored a goal. Colin White's been out a lot, and also John Madden. So even though it may seem like the Butterflies, at least before the game, were different than most times, their performance has not been. Thrown back along off Ray Whitney. Little trouble there. Forced on back for Simpson. Lays it ahead, and it's Sillinger. Forced across to the wing for a shot by Whitney that went off the glove of Brodeur. And the Panthers continue the attack and trying to tie the game. Turned back down by the Devils, and there will be an icing call. 100 seconds to go in the second, and the Panthers are now on the attack, and the Devils are counterpunching.
Well, certainly the Panthers have won the second half of the second period, and the Devils now not able to get much offense coming out of their zone. The first period they were able to come out with a good breakout, get a lot of speed through the neutral zone, either dump the puck in and cycle and grind down low, or get a good chance off the rush. But the Panthers have been the ones who have had the puck possession and have won more of the battles one-on-one. There you see the face-offs won. The Panthers have overtaken the Devils.
Svela shot, and that got all the way through the maze of arms and legs, and Brodeur stopped it. Turned ahead, Pandolfo went down to the ice. Svela turns, and we get an icing touch-up in the face-off to come back near Brodeur.
Well, Terry Murray really tried to set the table for his team by making them underdogs. He's talked about them being underdogs, and you know what? They played this game like they're underdogs. They fell behind, and now they're playing a much looser. Actually, when you play a little bit looser, you play more controlled. We talked about face-offs, Panthers being ahead. There's a clean one that Brodeur has to find through a screen, and it's Kavasha lost Worrell line, doing some good work once again. Now Bure was just out there, sat out one shift, and he's back out, only a minute 28, but Terry Murray's put together the threesome that was so dynamite down the stretch. Sillinger, Whitney, and Bure. Critical time for both teams here late in the second.
Sillinger and Gomez for this face-off. Little encroachment, so it's not dropped yet. There you see Pavel Bure. He peeled off. It looked like it was headed right to where he was, but he backed up just a little, maybe anticipating it was headed there. Lemieux fires, and it went wide off the glass. Stevens kept it alive, drubbed it around, and Lemieux is right there to take it. Lemieux fed one in front for Gomez, but it was cut by Sillinger. Pavel Bure, what'll he do? Tries to get through. Thrown back off by Lemieux. It bounced back to him. Tries again, and this time gets it between the point men, and it claps back down in the final minute. Vernon steers it ahead. Devils in the midst of a change. Svela's pass cut by Lemieux, then whipped right back in deep by Ray Whitney. Stevens peels off, gives a little pass to Rafalski, who's run into by Sillinger. Meanwhile, it's outletted by Gomez to Lemieux. Lob back in on the bounce. Mogilny goes after it. Vernon comes out of his goal, twists it around behind. Brought back ahead by Wilson. Pretty good thump on him by McKay. Brought back by Rafalski, and it kicked back across. One minor penalty in the game, Worrell for roughing. And then he came from the penalty box and scored the second goal for Florida. The Devils have been penalty free. Floated right back off Holik's stick. Brought back on, but left behind by Alex Hicks. Rafalski just laid it back out again. The Devils very careful not to give up a late period goal as they did in the first. 10.2 to go.
Well, the second period, much like the first, in the fact that the Devils seem to have the opportunity to grab the game, hang on to it, and run with it. They had the 2-goal lead here in the second, but the Panthers found a way to score and get right back in it. And the Panthers have to feel pretty good if they continue only being down by 1 going into the third. On the other hand, the Devils know that they can create some offense. They've scored 4 goals, which has got to be a feel-good thing for them, but at the same time they've given up 3, and they've given up most of the good scoring chances here in the second, so they've got to adjust between periods as well.
From the scrum, it is Hicks. Behind Brodeur, it is Colin White, and that is it. 2 periods played. The Devils in the period with 10 shots. The Panthers with 11. Alex Hicks having some words across the way with White. He has an assist on the Sillinger goal. That was a change from Whitney. Sillinger from Bure and Pitlick. And we are underway in period 3. No carryover penalties nor power plays. Only 1 minor in the game. That late in the first period to Peter Worrell. Niedermeyer. But Elias. Patrick Elias for New Jersey, able to wend his way along and fire, and it was deflected wide. Good challenge from the defense of Lance Pitlick. Puck squibbed to the front and is collared by Mellanby. Pittsburgh still ahead of Washington 6-0 second. Edmonton, Dallas scoreless first. No change in either of those. Philadelphia broke the tie 3-2. That one is just laid back by Colin White, and the Panthers very happy to oblige, taking over. Scott Mellanby up with that. Fed one in front and a shot blocked down. Another try by Hicks. Another try, and Brodeur got that. Now it's White, run into by Hicks, and the puck careens back down. Simone Gagne got the tie-breaking goal for Philly. They're in the third. 3-2 Philadelphia, and Detroit with a 1-0 lead over Los Angeles in the third.
The Devils have to play like this game is tied or they're behind by a goal. They absolutely have to think they need to score another goal to win. If they at all, and I know it's easy to say, why would you sit back and try and think you can sit on this lead? And I don't think they are. But it's a mindset that you really have to continually tell yourself, sitting on the bench and being on the ice, you got to say, be aggressive, go for it. Guys, let's keep attacking, not sitting back. Because right now, the Panthers certainly have the momentum here in the first minute of this third period.
Gomez on the draw. I know it's a phrase you've used before, and I don't know if it fits here. I'll leave that to you. Playing not to win, but playing not to lose.
And it's not a conscious thing, but it's a real.
Quick shot off the glove of Brodeur, and that flung to the net by Pavel Bure. Back ahead now comes Gomez. Leaves on for Claude Lemieux. Lemieux with Gomez breaking, tried to trickle it to him, poked away by Vernon, grabbed off by Whitney, and handed ahead to Mike Sillinger. Sillinger watched by Stevens, and it's back in deep. Brodeur sets it up behind, taken by Rafalski, shoveled right back. Kept alive for a drive by Hedican that was wide. Stevens steps to it and just pitches it back out. So Hedican will go back with 90 seconds gone in period 3. Sillinger deflected that one, but into the body of McKay. Rafalski hands back over to Stevens. Stevens just flopped it on back, taken by Todd Simpson. Simpson stepping ahead, denied, but he fights his way along. Rolled it on for Burry. Burry trying to step away from Rafalski. Threw one in front, but it's grabbed by Stevens and played ahead. Off of Breland, it's grabbed again by the Panthers. Simpson flopped that one ahead, but it ricocheted back for McGillney, moving in, fires, and a save made by Vernon on a drive from Alexander McGillney.
Alexander McGillney has been encouraged to shoot the puck more often. Tonight he's done it. That's his 4th shot on goal. But it's set up by good work along the boards. McGillney squeezing his body against the wood. Rips the puck loose and then rips it at Mike Vernon. Now Mike Vernon, I thought in the second period, sat back inside the crease. Looked a little tentative, but not on that particular shot, as he's well outside the blue. And McGillney playing the left side was telling me this morning he hopes playing that left side, just as we saw there, to be able to get his shot away more often because it's out of the reach of the defending defenseman.
This one is one to the back. Danico with it there. The backhander is gloved down and started back by Spacek. On to Peter Worrell. Worrell threw it back in. Danico went to get that. Danico rammed by Worrell, and that shook him. Meanwhile, it's Worrell up with it. Flips one that went off a body in front. Forced loose by Bombardier. Taken ahead by Pandolfo. Touched for Mogilny, but they rule an illegal pass against New Jersey, and it'll be brought back.
Well, what a game Mr. Worrell has had. He's involved, of course, in a lot of the physical part early on in the game. You know, he didn't do a lot of the hitting. He was on the receiving end. But he stood up, took it, did take a penalty, and since he scored that goal late in the first, he has been an offensive force. Now watch number 8 here finish the check on Kenny Danico. Danico felt the heat of Kavasha, but did not see the late coming Worrell, and he paid for it. And you saw the elbows. You always look for the elbows when it's Peter Worrell, and he did a good job of keeping them low and finishing in check with his shoulder.
Pretty interesting. We have not noticed a Jason Arnott at the Devils bench now. It is Madden floating this one back in. It's hooked along by Vernon. We'll keep an eye on that for you. And of course, Matt will be looking into that too. It is kicked on back for Danico. Danico and Bombardier, the defense for the Devils. Mogilny swaggered by 1, swaggers by 2, but then it's forced on by Spacek. Right back into Spacek. Mogilny able to pitchfork it back deep. Lance Pitlick goes back to retrieve. Pitlick to Laws. Has to pivot away, then gives over to Wilson. Wilson to Worrell. Very deliberate, very obedient team, these Panthers. This one popped high and grabbed by Brodeur, taken by Malakoff. Florida making the change. Brought back on by Bobby Holik with a long drive that's blocked away by Vernon. Tipped to the front, and it's forced away to the corner by Wilson. Lobbed on back, but into the glove of Stevens. Steered back for Bobby Holik. Shook it back in on the backhand and came to the bench for a change in lines. So unmolested, it's Wilson. Wilson giving over to Sillinger, laid it on back for Burry. Tried to connect through for Whitney, but that broke down. Shoveled back by Breland. Here comes Lemieux up the wing. Claude Lemieux met there quickly and waltzed to the corner by Brett Hedican. Sillinger tried to sweep. Dropped back for a feed in front by Breland to Rafalski. Rafalski a shot and it went wide. Vernon was down on the ice, apparently in a collision. Tipped on back now for control by Robert Svela, and he pivots away. The veteran defenseman drove it into the stick of Whitney, who hands on back for Hedican. Across to Svela again. Lobbed one that's leapingly grabbed by Rafalski. Wanted to play it back, but Sillinger got in the way. It's Whitney instead shuffling it on, and Burry chopping it back in and then coming to the bench. Rafalski with 15:20 to go in the third period of his first playoff game. He's run into by Mellenby. Spacek tried to play it back, got it to Hicks. Lobbed back, but that one is steered back out again by White. Elias worked over Simpson. Puck played on back, and it's Nemchinov handing to White. Stoked it along to Sikora. Sent it ahead off Elias. Nemchinov is now the center on that line with the absence of Jason Arnott. Thrown back past Hicks. Grabbed off by Malakoff. Vladimir Malakoff onto Nemchinov. Nice connection to Sikora. Then for Elias, but it went off his stick. Spun around as Mellanby. Elias nearly run off by Alex Hicks. And then Malakoff comes up high on Hicks, and there'll be a penalty against New Jersey. Moving ahead is Mellanby on the delayed call, and it's sent wide by Pitlick. Hook to the front, and Malakoff angrily clears it out, and there will be a penalty to him.
Well, the Devils will not like this call when they watch it on the tape. Obviously, it's an interference call on Malakoff, but it was the hit by Hicks earlier that I think ignited Malakoff to step up and finish the check as well. But Stan Fischler talked about the Devils not getting into penalty trouble, and that's exactly what's happened. Now watch this here. Now Hicks is going to come in late, right there, number 12. Now that's a clear rough, you know, left hand to the jaw of Elias. I'm sure he thought he was going to draw a penalty, but that was not the case. It was Malakoff right after that, skating up and wiping out Hicks. But he's the only one who gets sent to the sin bin. So the first time we've had a chance to see the Panther power play, and what a critical time it is.
3 for 16 against the Devils in the 4 regular season games. Craig Billington, the ex-Devil, started in goal for the Caps in the 3rd, relieving Oleg Kolsik, who gave up 6. Pittsburgh is now ahead of Washington 7-0 in the 3rd. At what is probably a very quiet, or maybe it is not that quiet, MCI Center. Maybe it's a negatively noisy place. But it is Spacek up with it here. Hands on to Ray Whitney. Whitney fires, save Brodeur. Trying to direct in front was Parrish, and it's cleared back down. Good pad save by Martin Brodeur, and so dropping back to handle are the Panthers. Nearly 6 minutes played in the 3rd period as Spacek steams it in, blocked by Brodeur, and lifted back down the ice. Vela kept it from going the length. The Devils made a change. Madden and Pandolfo came off, as is their custom, in about the first half minute. A lead for Whitney, taken by Stevens, but an offside pass.
Well, Vladimir Malakoff took a penalty by trying to step up and help his teammates. Now you're going to see number 7 there, right down the lower part of your screen. There's the hit, first of all, by Elias. On Elias, excuse me, and Malakoff looking to take revenge. Does wipe out Alex Hicks, but it's ruled an interference call. So the Devils in the midst of trying to kill off their first shorthanded situation. But these two teams did not like each other coming into this game. Both teams said, even Marty says, you know, there's a little bit of hate going on, and that has only grown as this game has proceeded.
Muller has scored, the ex-Devil, for the Dallas Stars. They have the lead on Edmonton 1-0 on the heels of having defeated the Edmonton Oilers last night 2-1. Meanwhile, it's Hedican handing back across, and Wilson put it in offside. Well, double checking the rule book, there's nothing in there banning hatred.
No, and players, at least in hockey, are so careful not to say they hate the other team. Well, I dislike them, I'm not fond of them. When in reality, in a situation like this of life and death in the playoffs, you sometimes hate the opposition, and you need to do that just about as much as you hate to have to lose. Now, it's interesting, this power play, look at Kozlov, who hasn't played much, Mike. He's taken the center ice position for the Panthers, and who's going to be in front, number 8, way over there in the wing, Peter Worrell. So just a muscle lineup really out there in the power play for the Panthers.
Nemchinov killing it off with Lemieux. White and Bombardier in back, and Bombardier goes to play this. Sidestepped one, but it came up the wing for Hedican. Hedican muscled off a bit by Nemchinov. Tries for Kozlov, behind for Mellanby. And along it came to the Lemieux side. A 4-man crunch there. Coming by the 5th man, Mellanby, wanting to work it free. Scaled from him. Brodeur slowed it down. Bombardier got there first and is able to clear it back down. That speed of Bombardier has helped out a number of times, and there was one occasion. Kozlov was actually closer, but didn't get there quicker. Wilson brings it back ahead. Dumped ahead for Kozlov. Floated back out again by Danico. 10 seconds left on the minor to Malakoff. Robert Svela Madden and Pandolfo are back out there for New Jersey. Brought ahead by Spacek. Out of the box is Malakoff. It's sent back down, and will it be icing? Yes. 12:20 to go, third period. Only one shot on goal in that power play. Forward is now in between Elias and Sikora when they're out. That line is at the bench now. Malakoff, a shot that is saved by Vernon and picked up by Spela and cleared quickly off the glass and back. Malakoff back on to Bobby Holik, but it's Hedican. The bouncer, Brodeur blocked it. Malakoff moving in, and Niedermeyer. Rob Niedermeyer pulled away. Around behind with a pass blocked by White. Malakoff turning with it. Vladimir Malakoff headmans on to Randy McKay. McKay forced it back in deep. Mogilny, the left winger on this line, with Bobby Holik as the center. Mogilny there. Tried to throw onto the front. It went off a Panther. Poke back on. Mogilny helps it to the point. Stevens fired it back around the wall behind Bobby Holik. Holik tried to center. Couldn't get it there. McKay up with it now. Randy McKay to the back. Rafalski fires. That's deflected wide by Alex Hicks. Parrish for Florida. Put it off Mogilny. Stevens controlled. Got it back on to Bobby Holik. Holik coast back in. A pass went off Mogilny. Rafalski there. Pressed off and then taken out of the play by Kavasha. So it's Stevens. Scott Stevens drops back with just under 11 1/4 minutes to go in the third period. A one-goal game. Devils got the first three, then Florida got back to within one. Devils answered with a goal in the second. Florida got one back, and it stayed a one-goal 4-3 deficit for Florida since. Pass across Kavasha. Good protection, moves ahead. Hands on to Len Barry. Barry fed it to the back, kept alive there and worked on by Laws, but Barry couldn't one-time touch it. Now Danico. And Danico just cranks one that went well wide off the glass. Claude Lemieux got there. Able to outfight Spacek. Lemieux tried to stoke one in front, held off by Vernon. Alex Hicks up with it. I beg your pardon, Simpson. Flicked one out that's jammed back in on the backhand by John Madden. Nearing the halfway point of the third period. The chances are one apiece. One chance each through 10 minutes.
Yeah, Devils not getting a lot of offense. The good thing is for them, at least, they haven't broken down. They've done a good job in the neutral zone. They haven't allowed the Panthers to get a lot of speed with puck possession in that middle ice zone.
Philadelphia has defeated Buffalo in the first game 3-2. Simon Gagne, the rookie, with the game winner. Rafalski flops it on back. Poked on by Sillinger, grabbed off by Madden, spun back in by Pandolfo, and then he's smeared by Mike Wilson. Flop back ahead for Pavel Bure. The Russian rocket with a pass into Sillinger's skates. Taken away by Bobby Holik. Nice ragging of the puck, and he walks it back in. And Holik is sent flying on a check by Lance Pintley. And they paw at one another again. Meanwhile, right back the other way, Bure could not get by. Stevens turned one ahead that went across two lines to Holik. 9.5, a little less than that to go, and a one-goal game still. Won by Holik cleanly back to White. White and Malakoff the defense. Bobby Holik is now the centerman between Sikora and Elias, with the absence of Arnott with the wrist problem that's being x-rayed. Put off the back of Ray Scapinello. A misfired puck goes all the way back down to Brodeur. Hooked it around with a goal stick. White closed off by Mellanby. It's jammed on through. Holik in a race. Vernon comes out and it's swept away by the defense of Wilson. Now it's knocked loose off of Elias, who almost was able to clock Mellanby for his trouble. But instead it is Colin White. Turned back on now by Malakoff, played by Elias. Patrick Elias walks it ahead from 90, a drive that went wide. So to get it, Niedermeyer. Scott Niedermeyer moves it ahead, and it went by Malakoff, who held off Mellanby and then got a return swat from him. Scott Stevens walled high and hard by Rob Niedermeyer, and it's bounced back in to be taken by the defense, but trouble for Todd Simpson as he tried to clear it. Went off of Gomez. Moving in is Breland. Sent it on to Gomez in the corner. But it's picked up by Spacek and quickly played on to the captain, Scott Mellanby. Poked by Hicks, but nubbed down by Brad Bombardier. Spacek sailed it across, but it just popped in the air and was sparred for before Breland could roll it back. Spacek menaced by Claude Lemieux. 8 minutes to go, third period. In this period, 5 shots for the Devils and 3 for Florida. And just a chance apiece to score. Another change in lines. Nemchinov with Madden and Pandolfo. Ray Whitney as well as Pavel Bure and Mike Sillinger for Florida. The bouncer to the corner. Rafalski roughed up by Sillinger, but he recovered and spun it back out again. A very heady, mature performance by Brian Rafalski. Fired right back in. Around it comes to him. He allows it to go to Pandolfo. Shakes it ahead. Here comes John Madden. Madden breezing on in. Fed one in front, but it's collared off by Bure. Taken away by Madden. Feeds one again, and a kneeling block by Wilson. Madden battling, able to turn it along to Pandolfo. Wrist shot, and it's snapped up and held by Vernon.
Good speed by Madden, Pandolfo, and Nemchinov. Devils short one centerman, so Holik is double shifted. This time it's Nemchinov out with that duo. But both teams here in the third period have done a great job in front of their nets, picking up the late coming attacking forward. And here you see Madden being surrounded by a bunch of Panthers. And here's the breakout by the Devils. That's Rafalski again. Smart chip. You mentioned how well Rafalski has played. He has not even come close to making a slip-up or a mistake in this game so far.
I asked him this morning where they would be in the Finnish league season. Of course, he played over there for the last 3 years. He said they'd be in the finals now. So that's how short the season is there compared to here. Puck brought ahead now by Worrell. Wedged by McGillney. Goes down. Kavasha's shot. Oh, and it ricocheted high and wide of Brodeur in the cage. Bobby Holik moves it ahead. Followed up now by Bombardier, who's checked by Kavasha after he turned it loose. Brett Hedican, who made a wonderful play to deny Bobby Holik on a rush with his goaltender Mike Vernon earlier. Brett Hedican able to move it back up on the wing to Worrell. The big left winger flipped one that came to Mogilny. And it's Hedican. Kavasha, Worrell, and back in. Paul Laws hit by Bombardier. Mogilny flings it back down again. And there will be an icing touch-up. The clock freezes with 6 minutes and 24 seconds to go in the third, and the Devils still with a 1-goal lead.
Well, Alexander McGillney really helps out Brad Bombardier. There was a mix-up right at the top of the circle. There you see the speed and the tenacity of McGillney as he shows that he can play both sides of the puck. Peter Worrell finishing his check there on McGillney. Doesn't seem to discourage or slow McGillney down. McGillney showing a good grit in the tough areas of the ice.
I asked, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was talking with Rafalski about the playoffs. All 3 series, they have 3 rounds in their best of 5 in the Finnish league. Big drive, and that held by Brodeur. And 1 year, he says, we won the championship in 9 straight. Swept all 3 series. But he got his first taste of Stanley Cup play tonight, and so far has been wonderful.
Well, the area he's been so outstanding in, Mike, is you know he's a good skater and he can make good outlet passes and skate the puck out of the zone. But what's impressed me is his physical strength tonight. He has really finished his checks emphatically, and no one's come close to beating him one-on-one.
Thrown around behind. Parrish closed off. Good work by Malakoff, kept by Simpson. That one nubbed down by Holik, jammed at the front of the net. Oh, and a little one-handed wedge by Parrish was shut off by the Devils. Turning with it is Elias. Patrick Elias takes a look ahead, gets a little skating room, plays it on for Malakoff, and it chipped off him and went out of play. 5:56 left in the third of this 1-goal game.
Generally, hits have to be somewhat real demonstrative and separate the player from the puck, but he has really finished his checks well tonight.
Nemchinov with a pass. Mogilny had it in his skates, tried to control, but that was difficult. Robert Spela hands across to Hedican, then to Mellanby. Laid on back and flipped along by Malakoff. Nemchinov tried to force it further, could not. It's on to Randy McKay's stick, but just that quickly off. Mellanby lobbed it back in. Colin White took over, played it back out. Randy McKay takes over there. Step by one, got it on to Mogilny. Mogilny has to squirm away from Rob Niedermeyer and gave it up to Hedican. Hedican threw it on back. Malakoff tried to play but could not. Help came from Colin White, his defense partner. Skimmed one that is taken and thrown across by Hedican. So now Spela Big scoreboard clock above center ice, just like the one in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. It is down now to 5 minutes to go. Alex Hicks hands it back to Mellanby. Mellanby pivots, but gave it up to Lemieux. Hurried it ahead to Gomez. Scott Gomez with a wrister. Went off the legs of the defense. Jammed on the backhand by Lemieux and a big save. Then it's thrown out in front by Gomez. Taken by Breland for Lemieux, but he couldn't do the one-timer. And so it is Mellanby. Scott Mellanby with a pass across. It is turned on by Whitney, fiddled on further, but Bombardier just flew it back in. Very carefully done, and so it's Pitlick. Connects back on with the Panthers on the attack. Sillinger lost, and Pandolfo stashed it on back. Devils fans like this right now. The Panthers are not able to get much generated. Given up to Stevens, played on to Pandolfo, right back in again. It is Mike Vernon out to play it. The Devils have turned neutral ice to quicksand right now.
The other thing they've really done well is their back check. If they get beat in the Panthers' end, they've come back hard and usually shut down the play.
The diving play was by Wilson on Madden, and it's Burry. And Pavel Burry goes on back deeper. 3 3/4 minutes to go in regulation time. The Panthers need one. Spacek flipped, nubbed out of the air by Rafalski. John Madden, the buzz bomb out there, nearly was able to start away. Sillinger hawked by Madden, the pass on to Whitney. Whitney stalemated by Rafalski. Onto the back, Spacek hands it over to Svela. Svela's shot, and that one deflected behind. Spiked along by Rafalski. Boy, how many great plays has this guy made tonight?
A couple of fistfuls. Good play there by Pandolfo to block that dangerous shot by Svela as well.
Given up to Holik, to Sikora. Had trouble getting the bouncing puck. Bobby Holik again on the boards, but it's chipped from him. Started back out for Worrell, but then chipped across where it's Malakoff. Now Hedican pursued by Sikora. Thrown back by Malakoff. Back to Malakoff again. This time he got it back in on Vernon. 2:45 to go in the third period. Little pass ahead and a diving block by Sikora. Worrell moves in and Malakoff on him. Malakoff without a stick now has it. Thrown around behind Worrell. Dumped it free. Took it. Worrell around behind. Tried to poke one home and Brodeur blocked it. Heady play by Worrell. Roughs it up with Colin White. Draped on White as he tried to get free. And it is Bobby Holik bringing it ahead. Holik for the Devils with a 90-footer that's snared by Vernon. Down to the ice went Holik. Vernon able to lift it ahead as both teams are in the midst of a change. Pretty punishing check that time on Brad Bombardier by Len Barry. It's Danico lobbing it back away from Gomez. Clock bleeds down to the last 2 minutes of regulation. Brodeur around behind. Brodeur sets it up for Danico. Danico had it knocked off his stick and it came back for Kozlov to get back to Simpson. Kicked back out confidently by Brodeur. And Mogilny is able to spirit it out.
Terrific kick pass by Brodeur to get the puck out of trouble.
Spacek ahead, reefed by Gomez. It's on to Barry. Barry able to play to Spacek, walks it ahead. Spacek with a drive, blocked off by Bombardier. Collared by Danico and spun back along. Mogilny able to poke it free. Kozlov drops back to get it with 1:25 to go. We'll keep an eye on Vernon. Puck taken though by Nemchinov. Nemchinov forced it back deeper and dropping back to play as Spacek. Spacek around now to Robert Svela. 1:15 to go. Svela got it back as far as Breland, but then it's over to Stevens and Vernon can't come out. Rafalski to Nemchinov and it goes on through. Back to get it is Hedican. And an icing has been called against New Jersey. Waving towels. Sillinger's big face-off. The two best draw men, Sillinger and Holik, and it came back to neutral ice. The net empty as Svela drops back. Turned it back on now. Are they going to dump it in? Yeah, Brodeur behind to stop it. What'll he do? Brodeur lifts one. It's off the glove of Hedican. Poked back out to neutral ice by Stevens. Brought on by Lemieux, and he shot one off the skates of Svela. 45 seconds to go. Svela with a pass on to Pavel Burry, gives on to Hedican. Tipped it loose, bumped off by Rafalski. Scott Stevens behind. Lifted it along the wall, it bounced to the back. And it's swatted back in on an offside by Svela with 33.5 to go. A neutralized faceoff.
Well, good work by all 6 Devils on the ice. Marty Brodeur with the first clearing shot. Scott Stevens is a little slow. I don't know if he's just winded. He got hit along the boards, and it looks like he may have just slightly jammed something, that he's going to remain out there. Now the faceoff just outside the Devils zone, and they will have Pavel Bure as the wide receiver. There he is down here in the low part of your screen. He's going to be the wide man. And he's going to get ready, the Russian Rocket, to blow into the zone.
Won by the Panthers. Mike Wilson cranks it back in. Around it swirled and kicked off a pair of sticks. Bounced to Rafalski. Hooked it back to neutral ice. 22 to go. Played on by Spala. Claude Lemieux circles near it. Bure came up with it for a moment. Then Lemieux, freight trained by Wilson, retaliates with him. Wilson is helmetless. They scrap again. It's back into Brodeur. What'll he do? This time he makes the safe play to Pandolfo with 5 to go. Pandolfo squibs it on back. And the Devils take game number 1.
That's Bure and Holik in the middle of the ice after the play. And down lowers, you see Wilson and Lemieux. They were wrestling just before that last up-in. Then Stevens steps into the melee.
You do not want penalties with no time on the clock.